Everybody. Once again, my name is Spencer. I'm part of the team at City Hall working on this. Economic Development Office, also some great people in the Finance Office putting this program together on short notice. So just one part of a team of many doing this. Basically, the scouting report for today is that I'll give just a short little talk with some slides reviewing the key aspects of the program. And as we're going and after that presentation, we'll have plenty of time for question and answer. This presentation will be in English, but Stephanie is fluent in Spanish. So if anyone has any questions in Spanish, we can accommodate that as well. And just, we want to reiterate that we, as the city in this program, we're here to help, and we hope everyone can find this like an easy and accessible program to become a part of. And to apply to. So we're here to answer your questions, and we're excited that you're with us today. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and dive into this presentation. So hopefully you're in the right place. This is a webinar about the Support Small Business Grant Assistance Program that's being administered by the City of Woodland. And it is, as you may have noticed, a quick turnaround. So we're excited that you're here today to learn about it. A little bit of background on the program. The money flows from the Federal CARES Act. So the money was initially allocated to the state, who then allocated it to the county, to Yolo County. And just last Tuesday, the Woodland City Council accepted basically a subrecipient agreement to use some of that funding and distribute it at the city level. This is money earmarked for small business support. And once again, council just accepted the funds last Tuesday, which is part of the reason that the applications for this program only started last Thursday. You may have seen sort of the parallel, very similar county level program for small business support. This is a new application. Unfortunately, if you applied to the county program a couple months ago, you'll have to reapply to this one, but it's a very similar program. And again, the goal of the program is to support, the backbone of our community and our local economy here, which are small businesses in Woodland. So because of all this, as you might have guessed, it's a really quick timeline. By law, the Federal CARES Act money needs to be out the door by the end of the calendar year, by December 31st. So in order to kind of work backwards from that, we have a really quick turnaround here. So we hope everyone is able to get in under the door and finish what we hope is a pretty straightforward and simple application process. The applications for this program are due a week from today, on Monday, November 30th, at the end of the day. And we're here to assist you through that via email, via phone call, via whatever is easiest for you to make sure you get that in on time. After applications are in, the city will review everyone's eligibility, review the grant funds they're asking for, and we will announce if you've applied and you qualify, if you will receive those funds by that Friday, by a week from this Friday, December 4th. So now we're gonna just dive into some quick kind of summary points about who's eligible to apply to this program. The first one, as you might have guessed, is small businesses. We're defining small businesses as those that operate in Woodland and have 20 or less full-time equivalent employees at the start of the pandemic. So once again, if you have 20 equivalencies, in March at the start of the pandemic, you are considered a small business here in Woodland. Our data suggests that 80% of Woodland businesses are 10 or fewer employees, so we hope this is a really broad application. And an important note here is that if you have part-time employees, for example, a couple people who work part-time, you can kind of add those together to create a full-time equivalency. So the formal definition is anyone who regularly works 30 hours a week. So for example, if you have 2 employees that regularly work 15 hours a week, that'll count for 1 as you work your way towards your 20 FTE. We're also opening this program to independent contractors. Folks who, for example, might be a hairstylist at a salon who are, renting space and are their own little business, doing in that case like salon or barber work. Independent contractors are also eligible to apply. This is a little bit different than the previous county program. The county did not allow independent contractor applications. And there are a couple broad revenue requirements for those who are going to be eligible for this program. In summary, you have to demonstrate that your revenue in calendar year 2019 was below $2 million, which is a general requirement to make sure we're sort of targeting the money to the folks who need it most. You also have to demonstrate that your revenue dropped since the start of the pandemic. This is the case for most small businesses, but those are the two kind of broad revenue requirements in our program. A really specific note that we've gotten some questions on that I want to highlight up front is many folks have applied for the Federal Paycheck Protection Program loans, PPP loans. Folks who have received those loans are indeed eligible to apply. The only way you are ineligible, unfortunately, is if those loans have already been forgiven. So once again, if you've applied for PPP program loans and your loans have already been forgiven, unfortunately, you are ineligible for this program. However, if you applied for loans and you received loans, but you haven't yet had them forgiven with a financial institution, please apply. You're eligible. And what can you spend the money on, right? Again, this will probably be very predictable, the things that are most useful right now, but these are the eligible uses that we list in the program. The first is, maintaining payroll and employment of those who work for you. Again, under 20 full-time equivalency. The second is any needs around cleaning, personal protective equipment, sanitation, even things like signage, trainings about new protocols with COVID, all that stuff, 100% eligible. Another eligible use is if you have rent or mortgage needs. We just need, a little bit of evidence demonstrating that you're in need, and that is 100% eligible for this program. The only sort of property, rent, or mortgage related thing that is ineligible is a basic property tax payment. If you're applying for the program simply to cover your property tax, unfortunately, you're ineligible. A key one we want to highlight and a real emphasis of our program is the transition to outdoor service. Unfortunately, it looks like sort of the new normal for the near future is a lot of required outdoor service and outdoor operations for many of our businesses. So if you're applying for things like a heater for your outdoor serving area for a restaurant, or a tent to cover where you're operating your business outdoors as of now, that's all eligible stuff. Even signage and physical costs like lumber and construction of a parklet. All of anything related to transitioning your services outdoors to maintain a service level while we're in kind of a widespread community spread of the virus is something we are really excited that this program can support. Finally, if you're a little behind on your city utility bill, that's another great use for this. Even if you're not behind, you're eligible to put the money towards city utilities. One thing I do want to highlight is if we go through your application and we find that the applicant is behind on city utilities, we are going to require that a portion of the grant you're awarded, 25% of the grant you're awarded, go back towards the city to help pay for these basic services, and we'll enroll you in a really accessible payment program. So again, if you're behind on your utilities, we're going to put and you qualify and receive grant dollars, we're going to put a little bit towards that utility bill. The rest will be towards what you applied for, and then we'll enroll you in a payment program that's not very that's not super usurious, but is easy to sort of work your way through. Available funding, right? Kind of the key of the program. It is you're eligible for general business expenses, such as that payroll we talked about, such as cleaning and sanitation. You can apply for $500 per full-time equivalent employee up to 10K, right? Because it's 20 full-time equivalents or below. So 500 up to 10K for kind of general expenses. That also moves over to the independent contractor category. So if you're a solo independent contractor, you can apply for up to $500. In addition to those general expenses, you can apply for up to $10,000 for this outdoor service part of the program. So just to reiterate, you can apply, if you're a small business, you can apply for $500 per full-time employee, up to 10K, depending on the amount of employees you have. You can also apply for additional money specifically earmarked for this outdoor service. So for example, you could apply for, if you have 10 employees, you could apply for $5,000 to keep paying them their wages, and then apply for some more money, to buy a tent or a couple space heaters for your outdoor operations. The maintenance of payroll and keeping people employed, as well as this outdoor service and making sure we can continue to support businesses who are forced to move their operations outdoors, are the two main things we're really excited about, and the kind of the two keys to this program. And finally, how can you apply? There's an online form, which is at the city landing site that we'll drop in the chat. There's also a physical form. You can download from that site, print it out at home and fill it out. You can pick up a physical form inside the front doors and to the left of downtown City Hall. And just remember, as you read through those applications, there are a small amount of required attachments that we'll need. They include a W-9 form, your City of Woodland business license, and then basically just evidence of payroll and revenue, evidence to substantiate what you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying to buy some physical materials like some sandwich board stands, some new tables, and maybe a tent to continue transitioning your services outdoors, you gotta attach like a quote or a receipt for those expenses. So once again, we want to make it really easy to apply. There is an online form that is just like a Google form where you're filling out blanks. A physical form you can either download online or go pick up a paper copy in City Hall. And once again, these are all due a week from today, the end of the day, Monday, November 30th. We're going to open it up to question and answer now, but if there's anything we don't cover during this webinar, we encourage you to reach out to anyone on the City of Woodland Economic Development team, Erica, Stephanie, Ken, myself, or direct questions to this email address on the screen right now, woodlandecondev@gmail.com. That's a good place to just shoot a question as it comes up. You can even fill out your application and email it to that address if that's easier for you. Once again, we want to make this as easy as possible, and we're excited that folks are on here. So I'm going to stop the share of the presentation at this point and dive into some question and answers with everyone.
Yeah, so Spencer, can you still hear me?
Yes.
All right, we received a question, I answered it live, but can you just go back and explain once again the eligibility for the $500, if it's per employee, per month? Can you just go through that breakdown again? What can they actually apply for and what can they receive?
Absolutely. Great question. What the sort of moment in time where we're looking at how many employees you have is the beginning of the pandemic. So, mid-March, you have to include a little bit of evidence that shows us how many employees you had, or, how many part-time employees sort of add up. So that's the number we're looking at. So if you had 20 or fewer, at the beginning of the pandemic, you're eligible. And then however many it is for general business expenses, such as cleaning, such as payroll, you can apply for $500 per those employees. So for example, if you had 10 full-time employees on like March 10th, you can apply for up to $5,000 for those general business expenses. Does that help?
Yeah, so it's $500 per employee flat and not per month.
Correct. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is sort of the resources we have. We know this isn't sufficient funding to keep the ball rolling for a long time, but we want to get this cash out into the community directly to the small businesses that make our town so special really quickly. And we know it's not the world's most generous program, but we hope it helps.
Awesome. So for the moment, that was the only question that we had in the Q&A box. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, so we have a question that just came in. So question reads, small businesses that launched their business in late 2019 or early 2020 will not have 2019 numbers. Will they still be able to qualify?
Absolutely. Folks that launch in that time period, even folks that launch during the pandemic, we're going to waive the requirement for those 2019 numbers and allow you to apply. So please apply if that's your situation.
Okay, we have another question that just came out. So with more than 20 full-time employees at the beginning of the pandemic, we are out of the running for the original idea, but do we still qualify for the outside dining support?
That is a great question. I would say fill out the application and please apply. What the situation there, and I don't want to get too technical, but at the end of this program, we have a pot of money that's sort of a finite amount. And if at the end of that we're oversubscribed, if we have too many applications for the money we have and we have to start, allocating, that's a decision city staff will make, and the money will likely go to the smaller businesses. However, if you have more than 20 employees at the start of it, I encourage you to apply for that outdoor part of the money, and we'll work with you directly to figure out if at the end of the program, we have the funds to support you. But to be clear, the program is directed towards these businesses with 20 or fewer employees. So if we get to the point where we're allocating funding, and we have more applications than we have money, the money is going to go to those businesses. So I hope that answers your question.
Great. All right, so we have a raised hand from Vincent Rodriguez.
Great.
Vincent, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk, and then you will have to unmute yourself so that you can speak. Vincent, can you hear?
Are we there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, Vincent.
Okay. Well, we've been in business for about 40 years or so. And when this thing happened, I have used personal savings to, pay for utilities and the main things that are going on. I'm about $20,000-$30,000 in the hole on my personal savings. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. So what we'd be looking for there is in the application, you'll see there's a short kind of box where you can fill out where the grant money is going to go. You basically explain how you'll use the money. So in this situation, if you're saying, hey, I've used savings to keep it going, just explain that and include some documentation from your savings account to show that's happening. And that's 100% an eligible use of the program. In fact, we hear very often that people are doing this to keep people on payroll and keep people employed, which is really the core of the program. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another question that came in, two more. So let's see here. Question is, are the outside assistance dollars available for reimbursement or only new purchases?
Both. Great question. We want to make this again as accessible as possible. We're aware that the county program only provided support for reimbursements, which we realize isn't always realistic for everyone because they can't front the money. So if you've already purchased something to help with your outdoor operations, that's absolutely eligible for reimbursement. If you are going to purchase something in the future, we ask that you include some documentation, a quote from a business, that you circle something on someone's online store to show what you're going to pay for, some evidence of where the money is going. And then we'll work with you directly to get those, once you actually do buy those items, get those receipts into our finance department. But yes, basically that the answer is either something you already bought or something you plan to buy for outdoor operations. Both are eligible for this program.
Yeah, and then Spencer, did you want to get into it all, the deadline to submit those reimbursements, the 11th, I believe?
Yeah. So if you're, again, this is spelled out in the application, and we know it's a little technical, but in order to get that money out by the end of the calendar year, if you're going to buy something that you're applying for money for something you haven't purchased yet. For example, you've circled a really great kind of sturdy outdoor tent or covering that you're going to buy with the dollars from this program. You're awarded the funds, and then you go buy it. We unfortunately are in, as we said, a really tight timetable. So city staff will work with you directly to get those receipts from that purchase back into the city another week after you're awarded the funds. So the fund awards for eligible uses and businesses will go out Friday, December 4th. And we are going to ask businesses that if they're applying for something they haven't purchased yet, to get those purchase receipts back into the city by the Friday after that, Friday, December 11th. We're aware that's a really tight timetable, but in order to get the checks out basically from City Hall and get our books clean by the end of the calendar year, we have to do this really quickly. And we want to accommodate folks who aren't just, as we said, haven't already bought things. If folks are planning to buy something new, we want to accommodate you, but you'll have to be on top of it and turn around some of that evidence pretty quickly, and get that back into City Hall. Again, city staff will work with you directly and make sure we are as helpful as possible throughout that process. And also make sure, that if you have questions as you go, that we provide kind of like some personalized support. It's another piece of feedback we heard about the county program. The county got a lot of applications and wasn't necessarily there for one-on-one support. We want to be there for you as you work through your individual applications and situations, to make sure that all eligible businesses and eligible uses get support from this program, because that's what it's there for.
Awesome. Thanks, Spencer. So we got a couple more questions. I also see a raised hand from VH. So I will call on you after we get to this question. So Spencer, the next question is, with the short week, some businesses may not be able to gather all the required documents by the due date. Should they go ahead and apply, and will you follow up and request what might be missing?
I encourage you to apply, even if you think you're missing some of the evidence. So the answer is yes. For example, we've already received a couple applications where we're going to need to request one or two more pieces of evidence. That's okay. That's what we're here for. We're going to comb through these. Obviously, we hope you kind of attach everything the first time, but if you're working hard to get it done, and you're missing one piece of one receipt for one thing you purchased or something like that, please still apply. We'll go through your applications, and we'll work with you directly. We don't want to be overly firm that if you're missing one thing, but you made a good faith effort to apply to this program and you're in need, we're going to work with you to make that happen. So please apply.
And I might just throw in, Spencer, it might be helpful for you because you're going to be, looking over all these applications. If businesses, maybe if you have documents that that you will not be able to attach, maybe just indicate on the application that you understand that you have to attach XYZ document, and then that you will get it to us at a later time.
Yeah, great note.
Okay, awesome. So VH, I will go ahead and allow you to talk now. So you can unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hello, we can
Hello?
hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear
We
you.
have a business in the mall, and the mall was like open sometimes, closed sometimes.
VH, we can't hear you anymore.
We lost you.
Can you try again?
I mean, where do I go for that? I know
Oh,
the
there you go.
application online, but
VH, we couldn't
excuse me?
hear you. We couldn't hear you. Can you repeat your question, please?
Okay. We're in the mall, and the mall was sometimes open and sometimes it wasn't. Especially during the pandemic, we were basically closed. So how do we go and what?
Yeah, it sounds like you've cut off again. Okay, so can you please repeat that last part of your question? So you said your
We
malls
were
were
just
open,
opened like
closed?
in the middle of last year. Can she hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. We had just opened in the beginning of in the middle of last year. So we were like just establishing, and then the pandemic hit. So we are kind of just paying everything out of pocket. So to keep open, so how do we go about um, figuring out what we owe, what we do, what we.
I think I got enough. VH, you're cutting out on us, but
The internet must be kind of.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. I encourage, if there's anything in my answer that doesn't answer your question and you have the ability, I encourage you to just type something out in the Q&A
Yeah,
or in the chat so we can see it, because we're losing you. But
you're fading in and out, I think.
oh man,
I know, I can't. Do we come to City Hall?
yes,
Or
you
do
can
we
come to
meet personally or what?
you can do either. Yeah. You can come to City Hall and fill out a physical form. It's easy to
Because
find at those front
you're
windows,
going,
going in and out. Oh boy.
right.
Um,
I hear you sometimes and sometimes I don't.
Okay.
Maybe it's my internet. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, VH, I will put the answer to your question in the chat box so that you can see, because I'm not sure if you
Okay.
can hear us. But essentially what Spencer is saying is that yes, please apply. If there are any documents that you do not have from the beginning of 2019, since you just started, at that point, go ahead and just don't attach those and just in your application explain your situation. And then we will personally take a look at it and get in contact with you if there's anything that we need.
Okay.
Did you hear all of that?
Not all of it, but some of it though. I'll look in the chat box though and
All
see.
right, I'll go ahead
yeah.
and write that in the
Did you hear
chat box
me?
now for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank
And
you.
You're welcome.
Stephanie, as you're typing that out, would you mind just getting VH's contact
And
info
they got it where
sometime
you can
and we
talk
can
to
follow
them
up?
and stuff.
Good idea, Spencer.
Yeah, let's grab an email or a phone number and we can make sure we're assisting.
Okay,
Are there any other
Um,
questions, folks?
let's see here. So I'm not seeing anything else come in.
Well, I'm as Stephanie's typing that out, I'm happy to hang out on that webinar if anything pops up in the next couple minutes. What I'm going to do is throw that final slide back up of just where we'd love any emailed questions to go. Again, if you email any of the folks in City Hall, we'll get an answer to you. But the place where we're sending, where we'd love your questions to go is this Gmail account, woodlandecondev@gmail.com. And once again, Stephanie has really helpfully dropped in the chat box the link to sort of the city landing page where you can find all the program guidelines in English and Spanish, as well as applications in English and Spanish, as well as links to the online application, which is just the same as the one you can download and pick up in paper at City Hall, also in English and Spanish. So we'll hang out on the webinar here for any more questions.
We
I think
actually
I saw a
got
couple come in.
a couple more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Anik, your question, yes, the webinar will be available on the webpage that I sent over. So the linked page, the Small Business Assistance Program. I'll go ahead and add that on there. And and then we have another question, Spencer. Do we or can we claim rental expenses for the entire period of the pandemic?
Yes. Within the program guidelines, it might be that your rent for the whole period of the pandemic, this what you qualify for might not cover all of that. But yes, if you can document, some evidence as to where you're pulling dollars from to pay for rent, falling behind on rent, or a mortgage payment, absolutely. That is, as long as you sort of meet those revenue and amount of employees requirements, that is absolutely something you can apply for.